Hey everyone, welcome back to a Higher Joy podcast. My name is Angie Brady, and I am so grateful that we get Maryam Jubera here as our guest today. Say hello.
Hello.
So, really amazing story how I met Maryam. I was actually just flipping through our text message stream and found out that we just met on January 23rd, so like two and a
Oh,
half months ago.
oh my
And
God.
it just made me think of the, I guess I'll start off with how we met. Uh, I was walking and getting some food at the food court, and
At
I
Costco,
at
which is the
Costco, yes,
important
at
part. Yeah.
Costco. And and actually my daughter was laying on the ground and some lady accidentally hit her with the cart and this lady felt so bad and I was like, "It's fine." But Miriam's husband came up to me and was like, "Oh, is your daughter okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's fine." And then we just started chatting. Her husband's remind me your husband's name.
Nathan.
Nathan. So Nathan and I just started chatting, waiting for our pizza and hot dogs and stuff. And so I get my food, and Nathan and Miriam's already sitting down. So then I looking for a spot everywhere. There's like no tables available, and I just happened to have one open spot next to Nathan and Miriam. And obviously we're chatting through the whole lunchtime, and then at the very end, Miriam had mentioned to me that she had mental emotion. Uh, I guess she has a website, she has all these meditations, and I just got really intrigued by what she was telling me. And then she also mentioned to me that she had a book club that she was hosting for Megan Farner. And I know instantly I felt this draw towards Miriam, and I was like, oh, she has such a good light about her. And I and within like 10 minutes, we exchanged numbers, and I'm texting her about when I can join this book club and looking at her website and everything. And I just knew it was God driven that we met because within the last couple months, we've already experienced so many highlights. And so I just wanted to express thank you to Miriam, and I want to kind of turn over some of the time over to her to introduce herself and what she has taught me and what she's going to be teaching many, many others in the world. So, Miriam, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Angie.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because we just had moved here January 1st. So we met
Wow.
on the 23rd, and it was just such a fast. And we've been to Megan's event. I mean, we've done so much together
Yeah.
in such a small amount of time. So it does feel like a thing, just like a God timing and just somebody there to help usher in change. You're
Exactly.
somebody who's been here and I'm somebody who's just arrived and I think that's a lot of what I like to do with mental motion is just transformation and change. Couched and housed in this in meditation. Because I
Yeah.
felt like that was the easiest way for me to outreach, especially when I was living on the catamaran. So my husband and I moved to Orem January 1st. For the past 5 years, we've lived on a catamaran in the Caribbean. We came here to be with his youngest daughter as she finishes up high school or finishes up school. She's still in middle school now. Um, I've worked mostly in corporate America and kind of had a quarter life crisis, quit that as a business consultant, shaved my head and moved on to a sailboat. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life.
That's awesome.
But I had a master's degree in coaching and I had an advanced practitioner certificate in neurolinguistic programming, which is a coaching technique I learned in my master's program. And I just went and got certified in that because I loved it. I thought it was an amazing coaching technique and it was doing amazing things for people. It was
Yeah.
really evidence based. It wasn't theory based. And a lot of therapy and a lot of coaching is theory based.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
so in NLP, they really say, try this technique. If it doesn't work, then you need to do it differently. It's not kind of the same thing over and over again. It's not
Yeah.
countless hours of therapy and years of therapy, which I had experienced in my life because I had, undergone a lot of trauma and I was trying to overcome and heal. And and what I realized is a lot of it was just question asking. So they were helping me identify why I felt that way. But once the identification was made, it was just kind of up to me to figure out how I was going to resolve it. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of, if you figure out why something hurts, then it should change the hurt. And I never found that to be true. And so when
Yeah.
NLP was like, hey, we kind of already have done this. Like, we know why things hurt. For the most part, people know why they feel damaged in life. He's like, so what do you do with the emotions? And I started reading about these techniques, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So
Yeah.
first, I went for myself, and I took up all the classes I could at this one. It was called NLP Learning Systems. At the time, they were located in Dallas, Texas, but now they're in New Braunfels, Texas.
Okay.
And I just went for healing. I just wanted to find a way that I could manage my own emotions in a way that felt effective and that I was making change. Because I saw people out there, they were in happy relationships, they were in healthy relationships, they were raising healthy families, and I had no access to that. I had no idea how to create that because I had never seen it or
Yeah.
I had never experienced it, but I'm watching it, from
Exactly. Yeah.
outside. And so, I think one thing led to another. I felt really good. I transformed my life. I mean, it was incredible where
Wow.
I went from to where I am today. If you told, 32-year-old Miriam that, you would be a stepmother to four daughters married living in Orem, Utah, I'd be like, what?
You're like,
I don't
nope,
think
that's not
so.
my life.
I think you're talking to the wrong lady. and and that you would be happy about it. I think that's the part. That's the main part is
Yeah.
you would be happy about it. Like you would enjoy this. And I would have been like, no, you're crazy. Um,
Yeah.
and so what I decided to do when we moved onto the boat, it was 2 years before I started getting itchy to accomplish something. And at first it was a year of like me hounding my husband, like, hey, Nate, you should build a new business. Like we should do something and I should help you. And he's like, no, I built my business.
Yeah.
I sold it. I'm
Like
retired.
I
Leave
already
me
did it.
alone. Like I did that. And I was like, well, I thought we were, going to come together and build something. And he's like, why don't you build something? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I hadn't really thought about that. And then I
Mhm.
was confronted with all my own insecurities
Yeah.
about, what can I build? What would I build? How would I build it? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Do I have enough information?
That
And then
imposter syndrome is kind of like,
yeah. And my immediate thought was like, oh, I should go get my PhD. And it's like,
uh-huh.
no, 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 no. He's like, Miriam, you have a lot of information already. Use it.
Yeah.
And so I think my husband's been a really big part of this company just by making me address kind of my own emotions, what was holding me back.
Yeah.
And what I ended up coming to was that I assessed what were the most foundational transformational tools for me and how could I package them in a way that was affordable for people to access because I spent thousands and thousands of dollars
Yeah.
in
I'm
my own
sure.
training and healing. And how could I do it without being in place? Because we were jumping from port to port, sailing
That's
around
right. Yeah.
over the Caribbean. So I decided to do online meditations. And really, my meditations are not like what people think about when they think of meditation. I think the meditation that's been popularized. So, somebody who knows nothing about meditation, they kind of
Yeah.
only pick up from social cues from media and stuff. And all of that's like very Zen Buddhist, clear your mind, become one with the universe kind of meditation. And I looked at that and I didn't look really feasible for where most of us are
Yeah.
starting.
Uh-huh.
Most of us are starting with if we don't, we have a career or we have kids or we have both and we have spouses and we are sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers and we have all of these roles that we play. We're not monks
Yes.
sitting isolated
We don't
in
have
a
endless
mountain.
amount of time just to sit and be.
Yeah, to just think of
Uh-huh.
nothing.
Yes,
It's like, well,
exactly.
how do you think of nothing when you can clearly hear your child doing nothing? Sign of danger. Like if it's too quiet, run, go find them. What are they doing?
Yes.
No, and it's like it didn't seem reasonable, and I was having a hard time with it too because even where I was in a state, I was in a state of alcoholism, but I was also managing a career and all these really unhealthy relationships and all these really unhealthy, imbalanced emotions. And it didn't feel like for me the solution was to just clear my mind
Yeah.
and that when I connected to the universe, that would be like some kind of light bulb for me.
Yeah.
What I did find was active mind meditations. And
Okay.
so I read about Jose Silva. I got my little library here.
There we go.
This is the Silva Mind Method. And
Okay.
he is just a low-key guy from El Paso, Texas, who developed a meditation. And it really is, I think one of your questions was, like, what is meditation? Like
Yeah.
for people who don't really know what it is. And I think simply I looked up the definition on Merriam-Webster. It says to think
Okay.
deeply or focus one's mind for a period of time.
Okay.
I think that's pretty, in
Yeah.
silence or with the aid of chanting for religious or spiritual purposes as a method or as a method of relaxation. And so there's like a lot in there, right? So it could
Yeah.
be spiritual, it could be religious, it could be for relaxation, or it could just be anything that you're focusing your mind on.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
always think of that kind of old woodworker, we all know have that one guy, or we know that one guy, he's just like really kind of slow moving. He loves tinkering in the shop, and you
Yep.
could go into his shop at any time and he'll be sitting there and designing a birdhouse in his mind or some kind of tool that he's about to make out of and spin out of wood. And he's meditating when he's designing that.
Yeah.
Anytime you're in a thoughtful, creative space in your mind or in a problem-solving space, a calm problem-solving space, not that kind of anxious thing that a lot
Yeah.
of people do. That's essentially a meditation.
I,
Your mind is focused on something for a
yeah.
period of time.
I was just gonna say, because again, when I thought of meditation, it's kind of like a intimidating word sometimes for me, because it's like, oh no, I gotta sit down and do cross my legs and hum and all
Yeah.
the things, and um, and it made that brought up a really good point that it really just if you can just put yourself in a creative space, and not an
Yes.
anxious space, but a creative space,
Calm and creative.
calm and creative, that truly is just meditation and just making time for that and then noticing it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think one of my somebody told me this years ago and I loved it. There is no wrong way to meditate
Mm.
except just not doing it at all.
Yeah.
There are better ways to meditate than other
Yeah.
ways, but there's no wrong. If you're actively trying and you're giving yourself the space to attempt, then
Hmm.
you are accomplishing a meditation greater than you ever had before.
Yeah.
Not trying it at all is probably the only wrong way. And then there's levels of effectivity moving forward.
Yeah.
There's different, our brain operates in different brain waves, and we're kind of familiar with this in the sleep states. Like we know about REM sleep, we know
Yeah.
about deep sleep, and especially with everybody's devices now, they track our sleep. So we
Yes.
wake up in the morning like, oh, 8 hours. Oh, we had hours of light sleep. I did great. These are brain waves that they're tracking. And we have separate brain waves that we can access in a waking state as well. It doesn't just change
Okay.
when you're asleep. And actually, the very first level of sleep brain waves, they have proven that through a meditative state, you can access in a waking state. And that's where a lot of real
Oh,
change occurs. When
okay.
you look at guys, I don't know, have you ever heard of Wim Hof?
I
He's
haven't.
okay, so he's an interesting guy. He made his big debut, I think maybe a decade ago, but they call him the Iceman. So he's a real large proponent of breath work
Okay.
and like ice baths and cold plunges and things like that to
Okay.
heal the body. And one of the things that they documented when, he was showing how effective he was that he could change the internal temperature of his body
Huh.
through a meditative state. Because in these levels of mind, this is where a lot of your automatic processing is happening. So your heart is beating, your body temperature, is regulated. You have all of these things that you never think about
Yeah.
that happen inside of your body that automatically happen for you.
Hmm.
And they are actually controlled through different states of electricity, energy, and mind waves. And
Huh.
so it seems really like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Until you realize that we are electric beings. Our heart runs on electricity. Our mind runs on electricity. We are emitting waves, just like our microwave does when you turn it on. It emits
Uh-huh.
waves. It's an electrically based system, much more caveman than we are. I mean,
Yes.
we're created by the divine, creation, by divine organization, but the system was created. And I think it's information that we forgot that we're relearning.
Hmm.
All of this information, like what meditation is thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And we kind of lost it when we're trying to reform a lot of cultures and reform a lot of society. And so
Yeah.
people are kind of rediscovering it because it is in our design. It is by divine nature that we can access these brain waves, not divine nature, but divine design.
Yeah.
Our souls yearn for it naturally. Like we're
Yeah.
always seeking for um, that next level of betterment. And I think it's given to us a lot in our scriptures as well. Is if you look at a lot of what Jesus wanted us to do, what he asked us to do, it wasn't really checkbox based things. It wasn't, I understand with like every religion and every sect of Christianity has its rules. It has its checkbox things that you need to do. But Jesus asked us to love. And he
Right?
has to have compassion. And this isn't something you can just check on a box
No.
because every minute that can flow and fluctuate and move, and being able to utilize the mind to bring you into a heart space so that you're
Hmm.
resonating, or the electricity that you're using to emanate into the world is from the heart space and not like from your stomach or from your throat or from your mind, but really to resonate from there. This is controlled through our mental capacities.
Yeah.
And it's the meditation gives you access to that. The more you can learn to focus your mind on something, the
Hmm.
greater capacity you have to control something. And then we're talking about agency.
Yes. Well, the thought that keeps coming to mind is okay, so the temple. Let's just give the example of the temple. I feel like when you go into the temple, it gives you a space to just be in a meditative space.
Yes.
Like it's not saying I need to get away from the world essentially and
Yeah.
step into like a meditative space where I not necessarily need to talk to anybody. Don't need to. So the temple, why it is a safe place or a place for revelation is because I feel like because you are finally in a meditative state where
Yes.
when you're out in the world, there's just so much commotion. And when really our true natures, I feel like as human beings are supposed to live in a higher meditative state.
We've
And
been asked to very specifically.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like actually when we're going into the temple, we're actually stepping into our real selves.
Yes.
Or in this, I guess, holy place or space or whenever you're in that. Because that's what we were designed to do. All when we step out into like this world, we're just not maybe it's just scary. I don't know what it is, but maybe you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, it definitely changes. So what happens when you step into the temple is like you can feel viscerally, you can feel, you can see, you can notice everything is different
Yeah.
and it's calmer and it's more grounded.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that is so the Lord can be present in those moments fully
Mm-hmm.
because the people are doing their best to maintain themselves in a balanced level state of being.
Mm-hmm.
So holding that reverence, holding moderate tones of voice, holding reverence inside of your heart, now we're all connected and
Yeah.
resonating at this very calm state. So as soon as you walk in, if your emotions are high and you're like, "Zzz," and you're up here, and
Yeah.
everybody, like 15 people around you, are all resonating at this very calm state, they outweigh you. So you're going to match
Uh-huh.
is going to bring you down into a
Yeah.
calmer state of mind. Because with this electricity that we're all emanating from our bodies, we're connecting with each other.
Yeah.
And so that is why when you step out of the temple, sometimes it's hard to take it with you because now you're around, ambulance sounds, you're around car horns, you're around busy people, you're around anxious people, you're around people who aren't necessarily thinking of the same things you are. And
Yeah.
now, because they're all up here, and now
Uh-huh.
you're coming out of the temple and you've got to come back up and meet society.
Ah,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh, so you would ask, is it better to meditate alone or in groups?
Yeah.
And I think for beginners, it's amazing to meditate in groups
Yeah.
because there's a group of you all trying to hold a similar space. So without saying any conscious words, you're all holding each other accountable for creating a meditative state
Oh, I
together.
love that. Yeah.
And because you've committed to a goal.
Yeah.
And so I love meditating in groups. I haven't done it in a really long time because we were traveling a lot.
Yeah.
But when I first started, it was one of the most helpful experiences for me because it taught me. And then my brain started accessing it. Now my brain has a place to go. It's like, oh, I remember what this feels like. I remember what we
Yeah.
did to get here. And it could get me back to that place faster and faster, easier and easier. And the more and more I did it,
Uh-huh.
um, the easier and easier it was. And so now I feel very confident meditating on my own. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, I started the guided meditations because I recorded meditations for myself
Yeah.
initially
That's right. Uh-huh.
because I wanted to be guided so that I could relax
Yes.
but I could get the prompts. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted very specific prompts because I knew what I was working on. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'll just record them for myself and I'll
Uh-huh.
my voice. prompting me through a specific
Oh,
NLP
love that.
change technique.
Mm-hmm.
And that was ridiculously transformational for me.
Wow.
And I was like, let me see if I can do this for other people when the
Yeah.
time came. And Nate was like, you should build something. And I was like, well, what would I build? My
Yeah.
mind went back to 4 years prior when I was recording meditations for myself and listening to them
Mm.
and how fast things started to change after that.
Wow. Well, I've actually listened to some of Miriam's meditations, and they're really helpful for someone who doesn't actually know where to start. Especially like, let's say you're not a member of the church and you don't can't just go to the temple, or
Yeah.
you're not in a place to be around a lot of people. Miriam's stuff is so helpful for just like a starting place because I didn't really know how to do this, and she was like, "Oh, well, check out my website, and here's a recommendation of which one I should try first." And if I could just find 10, 15 minutes to just listen, pop it in my ear and just sit on the couch,
Yeah.
my mind didn't wander as much because you were like had prompts and guiding me and redirecting my thoughts and make thinking about in like in a higher plane or a higher
Yes. And
vibration
you
or
can
whatever.
feel it in your body when that first 5 minutes of like inducing relaxation, all my meditations start with an
Yes.
inducing relaxation. You can feel it, right? It's like, oh, I was, I wasn't sure. I didn't know I was holding tension there, or oh,
Yeah.
this is cool. And then your whole body gets to relax. And I think that's important too. I mean, you're just sitting on your couch, right? You don't have to, you're not like in lotus position with your knees and your hands,
Yes.
like, just sit on your couch or put
Uh-huh.
your feet up on a stool. I recommend that people just, the best meditation position is the one that's most comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and there, I also want to clarify that this is all my meditations really are for beginners or people addressing specific topics that they want change in, because
Mm-hmm.
my meditations are NLP change techniques couched in meditation. So
Yeah.
we're walking you through active brain processes to help you understand your brain better, create a two-way relationship with your emotions, where I think
Yeah.
most people experience a one-way relationship with their emotions. Their emotions just enact on them, and then they have to like manage that experience.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
I don't
where
know how to
really
put all
it's
these.
like, yeah, and it's like really there can be a reciprocal, there can be a two-way relationship with our emotions where our emotions they're telling us something. And we can access that, like analyze that, and then we can go back and tell our emotions something back. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this is actually a very safe area and we're gonna stay calm right now. And your emotions are like, oh, okay. And you can
Yeah.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think most people know that yet.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with your meditations, I think you do all sorts. Like you do if someone's been through trauma, if someone's been through like loss or grief, or I don't know, what are some of the other things that you have in
So
there?
I don't have grief yet, although it is
Oh,
on my
okay.
list because there have been a lot of people who have requested that one.
Okay.
I so right now I have overcoming drinking because that was one I did that was really transformational for me. I was a pretty raging alcoholic for a while, and when
Okay.
I stopped drinking, everything changed. Surprise, surprise. Stop poisoning yourself, your life will get better.
Oh.
Ta-da! So drinking because that's a real heartfelt one of mine, but trauma, depression and anxiety are two big
Okay.
ones right now. So I've got healing depression and healing anxiety, and then creating a healthy body because I think
Okay.
that, and that one addresses eating the right amount of food, learning how to eat healthy food, learning how to enjoy eating healthy food, where we
Yeah.
really have raised the standards of, let me see, how do I say it? It's not about what you can't have. It's about raising the standards of what you're willing to put in your body.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
And
perspective.
that's really more about self-love. Like how much do you love yourself?
Mm,
And
hmm.
what do you want to feed somebody that you love? Like would you feed the foods that you give to yourself to somebody who is struggling with the things that you're struggling with? So,
Yeah.
if you see your friend who's struggling with, like low energy or an extra 15 pounds, would you be taking her out, you and your best friend, like, hey, let's go get ice cream together? No, you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't because you'd be
Yeah.
sabotaging her goals.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like learning to treat yourself like you would treat your best friend.
Oh yeah. That's huge because sometimes and I mean I feel like we don't necessarily know how to listen to our bodies sometimes. Like we're
Yeah.
just kind of like I don't know what to do and I feel like when we can become to that higher level, you say energetic energy
Energy. Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
then I feel like we can obviously we almost want to change like we want to put things healthier in our body or we
Yeah.
want to go. do things or get better, and when we're in that better mindset with that
And I do
meditation.
and because I do think our bodies are temples. And so I
Yeah.
always tell people, would you walk into a temple with dirty shoes on? Like, would you walk in your muddy boots? And nobody would.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody would.
Hmm.
But we sure will eat a Twinkie without questioning it.
Yeah.
And that if we are a temple, then what are the standards that we are holding our body, the care of our body to? And
Yeah.
why do we hold that building that's outside of us at a higher standard than what the vessel that we've been given by God? Because that
Exactly.
to me, I love the temple, but my body, I'm going to care for it better than I'm going to care for the temple because it is with me all the time, every
Yeah.
day. This right here was given by God. And
Exactly.
so I've been on a big journey with this one because I struggled again with this one. I'm still in the process of discovering this journey. Another meditation I'm going to add to this is going to be the love of movement. I
Oh,
think we've
okay.
got misconceptions about what working out is, and we've made it kind of like you were saying with meditation, where like meditation, you have to sit cross-legged and you have to, like find the perfect, and it's like
Yeah.
no. And I think we've done that with workout. Like I need to have a routine, I need to have a schedule, I need to where our body just wants to move. Our
Yes.
bodies enjoy
Uh-huh.
movement. And so how do we create joyful movement without the rigid structure of the gym and kind of what's been popularized for us.
Exactly.
Not
Because
all of us resonate with that.
yeah, I think it's hard because okay, I grew up playing sports and doing kind of more of the rigidity, like we got to go to practice, we got to do the same drills, the same thing every single time. And then as soon as I got out of high school, I was like, I didn't know what to do. I don't have a team now. I can't just like go practice basketball. Like, and I don't
Yeah.
want to just sit here and
Like,
do
how do I do
like
this now?
exactly. And I was like, I don't even know what movement is. So I was like, I guess I just when in sports I just ran. So do I just go running? Like,
Right.
I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, okay, it's movement, but and then I got so hung up on I got to make sure I get the right workout and get the right calories, get the there's
Yes.
a there's good things to that, but when you get so hung up in just how much calories or something you're losing, like you miss the mark of just being like in moving and appreciating obviously our body and enjoying like what we're doing.
Yeah. Totally. No, you nailed it with that because it's like you're judging it. And that's kind of what I've been discovering is when I think of joyful movement, sometimes I'm just like dancing in my kitchen, but I only do it when I'm alone. Like I'm hesitant to do that when my family is around. So I'm restricting joy in my life based on what I think other people are going to think of me. And that became a big aha moment for me. I
Yeah.
said, oh, okay, so I am losing a little bit of joy. Um, am I willing to continue to do that?
Yeah.
For me, the answer was no. And so I
Hmm.
started practicing being goofy around the family. And what I found out was that my stepdaughter just joins me.
That's
Like
awesome.
she's not like, oh, Maryam being weird again. She'll come and start dancing with me and I think that was something I wasn't necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
I was very happily surprised. And I was like, oh, I wonder how many areas in my life I'm restricting myself where if I just shown my natural self, people would just come join me.
Yeah. Do you think meditation is a type of I mean you think dancing is a type of meditation?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I do.
That's
And
really
actually,
cool.
you see that in some of the old cultures, the twirling dervishes, they come out of that's movement for meditation, and they're gorgeous. That's a beautiful practice.
Yeah.
And um, and so it is. I think anything, like the definition says, anything that you can focus on is going to be anything you can focus on for a duration of time is
Yes.
a meditation. Now, there's a lot of benefits to going into deeper and more calm states of mind to do change work. You
Yeah.
know, like mental motion meditations, you're going to relearn how your brain experiences happiness
Yeah.
because your brain's choosing sadness and depression. And you can learn to choose happiness as much as you're choosing sadness right now, just
Yeah.
as nobody's taught you yet. So listen to a meditation a few times, listen to the same one a few times,
Yeah.
and learn. And I think that's really what my big call to action for people are, just try it out. And my 5 minute mental reset is
Hmm.
a great one for people who have never tried just focusing before, because it's a breath work, so it keeps you really active, it keeps your mind active, but you're focusing on your breathing.
Oh, okay.
And so
Yeah.
that one I like a lot because it helps you. It's the starting place for learning how to stay focused on one thing because this world has got us distracted. I mean, like these things right
Yep.
here,
Yep.
whew, they're doing a
Exactly.
number on our brains. And if we don't kind of take it back, well, I say like we've been hijacked by them and we have to
Yeah.
like re-hijack ourselves. Like, no, this is
Yes.
my brain. I'm keeping it. You stay over there.
Yeah.
And and if we don't actively and consciously do that, who's doing it for us? Who's
Yeah.
who's
I also
programming
think it's a lot of relearning, unlearning and then relearning.
Yes.
Because I mean, if you, often think about like as when a baby's born, like they literally can just sit there and be
Yeah.
totally content and fine with life, and there's no worries in the world, and they can just be focused on what they're focused on, and then move to the next thing and be focused. But I feel like our brains are like, we got to do this and this and this and this and 12 million things, and it's
Yes.
like, oh, and when they always says, God says, become like little children,
Yeah.
there's an aspect to that where children truly can stay in a meditative state for a
Yeah.
longer period sometimes because
Yeah.
I mean we may think that we're more focused as adults, but we also have probably 20 other things in our mind that we're thinking about.
Well, baby brain waves exist in a capacity that ours do not. So you start to solidify those higher, the faster moving brain waves the older you get. And then I think it's by puberty that you've solidified this kind of consciousness that we're in all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the children, and I don't remember the ages, but like little babies, they exist in that light sleep function in their waking state. They kind of exist in that light sleep function that adults process in, and they live in that.
Oh.
And then that kind of more creative, intuitive, like theta state of mind is what kids between like the ages of 6 and 8, they live in that.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't have access to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so there is a lot of become like children. There's a lot in that. And I think it is with the dancing too, right?
yeah.
Become joyful like children. Children are in awe of everything because everything is new and they're learning. And really, if we look at the totality of the miracle of what this planet is, we
Yeah.
really should be in awe, you
Yeah.
know. And so, how do we stay in awe? How do we stay in gratitude? How do we stay curious? Kids are
Yeah.
curious about everything. How do we stay creative? And
Yeah.
how to stay calm in a calm state of mind.
It's I mean it takes a lot of practice, and I'm excited to like continue to look at Miriam's stuff and do some I want to work on some of the things that she had mentioned, and I think that anybody that's listening should totally check out her website and just go in there again 5-10 minutes and just browse around, and if your kid's taking a nap or I don't know,
Yeah,
on a walk, I mean again your movement and you're walking and you could just be in that like meditative state. Again, we don't need to be sitting cross-legged like we've mentioned a bunch of times, and I just think there's no wrong way, like you said, there's no wrong way to meditate.
and
And
there's nothing wrong with, if you're not quite sure about it, there's nothing wrong with not meditating and just listening to the audio. So you know what I'm cueing you for. So you can
yeah,
hear, like you said, you could be walking and listening to the induction. You don't have to be doing it. You could just be listening to it so that when you are ready, you know what you're walking into. So it doesn't feel so weird or scary.
yes,
Just listen to it. Listen to the language. Listen to how it's different than a lot of how we carry conversation because I use different language patterns in those meditations.
yeah,
So I have some for free,
okay,
but my program is $5 a month. So my goal is to make it
yeah,
really affordable so that there's no financial barrier for people. And the meditation list is growing, and I
that's
have
awesome.
I've got 10 right now already written, ready to be recorded.
Cool.
If a lot of people, if they don't know about meditations, they probably don't know a lot about the chakra systems, but I'm doing a chakra series of
Uh-huh.
meditations to help aid physical healing with the mind and
Yeah.
going through those kind of ancient chakric systems. After Megan Farner's book club, I will be doing a book club to help people learn
Oh yeah,
about the
what's
chakra
your next book?
system. Let me pull that. Sorry, this one I'm actually sitting on.
Okay. For any of you who don't know, we are doing, or Miriam does a book club for Megan Farner for the book
Yes.
Consider Yourself as Eve.
And that's this
And
book right
that,
here.
yes,
Megan has done
showing
an
it.
amazing job at highlighting. the divine feminine, and we're just doing it's 9 chapters, one chapter a month, second Thursday of every month. And
Yes.
so if anybody's interested, just go to the website and click on events. And Angie has been
Yeah.
with us from the beginning.
Yes, it's like it's amazing. I love it, and Miriam does a great job with hosting this book club, and you can join in at any time. So I think what's the next one?
And the
Yeah.
next book I'm going to review is the Subtle Body book. Um,
Okay.
this is a massive book. It's
Yeah.
huge, but I want to use it as a way to bring to reality a lot of stuff that seems wooey or kind of,
Oh yeah.
like, oh, this is very mysterious. This is all very, Eastern philosophy. I can't touch it.
Like, what are
And
you
it's
saying
not.
to me?
It's science based. And so
Yeah.
we're going to go through a lot of um, what they've discovered about it with the recent developments in technology and science and ability to measure. They've learned a lot,
Yeah.
since they can measure brain waves. They know so much more now that the ancients knew inherently, intuitively, divinely. They knew that accessing brain waves meant something.
Yeah.
Science now has proven that, you know, the body heals itself faster when you're in a theta brain state. And
That
so
is
get there,
awesome. Okay.
so, but I think
Well,
that we're almost out of town
I know
line.
we're almost out. So again, I will put all the stuff, the links, and all in my little bio thing. So anybody who wants to jump on there, you can click on there. And again, Miriam, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you,
me.
Angie.
Okay, all right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.